So in Korea, I'm a teacher. Being a teacher in Korea is common. I can probably count about 10 people at least in here who are also teachers. But after you're a teacher for a while, you begin to wonder and question, why do we teach? What is the purpose of education? In Cambodia, God reminded me through AIM that the purpose of education is to help students reach their full potential, mentally, spiritually, physically. One of the nights in Cambodia, we were sitting with some AIM staff, and we were going around and telling about what we did. And a lot of people on the team do amazing things. So when it came to my turn, I kind of shrugged. I was like, I'm an English teacher. It's nothing special. But in all honesty, at that time, teacher just kind of had become just that. I was in a rut and forgot why being an educator was important. I had hoped that coming to Cambodia would stir up the initial heart I had for education. I hoped that I'd be able to once again use my skills as an educator to bless the staff at Lotus Kids Club. Though I wasn't able to do as much as I would have liked, God still used that time to reestablish in me what the true purpose of education is. I believe that Matthew 25:35 through 39 states it really well. It says, "For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then they asked, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty or give you a drink? And when were you a stranger, and when did we welcome you in?" And he said, "Truly I say to you, as you did to the least of these, you did to me." For AIM, school goes beyond teaching subjects. They feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and they protect the vulnerable. They take time to pray with and for each of the students, and you can easily see their fruit. The students would run around the schoolyard with joy and laughter, and during class they listened intently to the teachers and carried themselves with a confidence and poise, which in all honesty I haven't seen in a lot of students. You could tell that it was a place where they felt safe, and that their teachers saw them for who they could be and who they will be. One of the things I was pleasantly surprised with was that 2 of their students actually had Down syndrome. In countries, including Korea, children with disabilities are ignored and sometimes ostracized from society. In less developed countries, this is even more common. Dari, one of the heads, fully admitted that none of them really had proper training to teach the students, but it didn't stop them from taking the students in. AIM understands that God asks us to welcome the stranger and take care of them. So instead of pushing them aside, like the rest of the world, they welcomed them with open arms, and for the last year or so, they've been researching ways in which they can take care of them. I watched the staff interact, teach, and encourage these 2 students. It was apparent that these students were in a safe, capable hands, and that would set them on a path to success. Unfortunately, though, not every student can attend their school, but AIM still tries to help using what limited resources they have left over to help all the other kids in the community. They provided them with nourishment and vitamins, and every morning and afternoon, the kids would gratefully receive these gifts. Some of the older kids would even have quick check-ins with the staff to make sure that they were healthy and doing okay. These were all things I had forgotten in recent years. Schools and facilities like them should be a place where students can come and feel taken care of and loved. They should be a place where no kid feels forgotten or rejected. And I think we can also forget that education and organizations goes beyond the students, that it impacts the family and it impacts the staff. One of the first days there, I was able to ride with the kids home on the school's tuk-tuk, and usually we just kind of drop off the kids and just let them go walk to their house. But the last round was a little bit different, and all the kids and the other staff worker got off, and the staff worker who spoke very little English kind of motioned for me to follow along. And so we're walking along, and these kids live in pretty much, this doesn't really give it justice, because what they live is in a lot worse than that. They just have dirt floors and just pretty much metal panels on each side and on the top, and maybe a plank for a bed. So I kind of expected that's what the kids were like, but I wasn't expecting that's where some of the staff was living too. So the staff worker, we're walking, and she points out, and she's like, "That's my house right there." And that was the house that her and her husband, both who are staff, lived in with their mom and dad, who were both really elderly. So it kind of broke my heart. I told her that the house was beautiful, but inside my heart was breaking. I had assumed that someone who has a stable job would get out of poverty. And I learned that day that poverty goes deeper than just simply being unemployed. And I also realized that Ratanakandari's work went beyond the students, that they were making sure that their staff was also being fed, clothed, and kept safe. And being God's hands and feet, they were taking care of the least of these. I think oftentimes we go into short-term missions trips expecting to have a life-changing experience and to see God move in big ways. But that's not always the case. Sometimes God simply wants us to see the need, and He places it on our hearts in ways we can help. God did that for me this trip. Cambodia reminded me that the purpose of education is to help students reach their full potential, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And since then, God has shown me different ways in which I can help fill these needs, both in Korea and abroad in places like Cambodia. My drive has returned, and I pray that I can use my skills wisely in order to help those in need. And for anyone who's an educator out here, I challenge you. What needs do you see at your school? What needs do you see in your students? And what can you do right now to be God's hands and feet and meet those needs? Thank you.